I want to go over an example of finding the maximum value of a quadratic function. So the general form is y minus k is equal to a times x minus h squared. This is the general form of a parabola, and the letters h and k refer to the vertex, and the letter a tells us whether the parabola points up or down. It also tells us how narrow or wide the parabola is. But for the purposes of finding a maximum or minimum value, all we're really interested in is whether a is positive or negative. Okay, and today I'm going to go over an example of a case where a is negative. So let me just draw a little picture of this. If a were positive, the parabola would point upward, and the vertex would be a minimum point. So I'll put minimum here. That would be the vertex hk. And this happens if a is positive. Okay? If a is negative or less than 0, then the parabola points down, in which case the vertex hk is a maximum. Okay, here's an example. Y equals negative 5x squared minus 20x. And so in order to write it in standard form, we're going to have to complete the square. So the first thing we need to do when we're completing the square is not have a coefficient in front of x squared. Really, you want the coefficient of x squared to be 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor that negative 5 out. So negative 5, parentheses, x squared, and then I'm going to put plus 4x. And you can mentally check if you factored it correctly. Negative 5 times x squared is negative 5x squared, and negative 5 times 4x is negative 20x. So we've got that right. Now, next step, I'm going to use a blank space right after 4x. So x squared plus 4x plus blank. Okay? Now, I'm setting this up this way because we're trying to turn x squared plus 4x into a perfect square trinomial. And so we're going to put a number in the blank space that will make it a perfect square trinomial. So you always look at the coefficient of x, which is 4. So you ask yourself, what's half of 4? Well, that's 2. And what's 2 squared? 4. So it's always half of that coefficient squared. In this case, they both happen to be 4, but it won't always turn out like that. Okay, so we're almost there, but there's one thing we have to do. See, when I put the 4 here, we threw the equation out of balance because I just put a 4 there that wasn't there before. So we also have to take it away. Now let's think about that. When I added a 4 here, look at the negative 5 outside of the parentheses. Now when you multiply negative 5 and 4, okay, you get negative 20. So what I really did was, when I put the 4 there, I was really taking away 20. And so I have to compensate by putting plus 20. And that's the tricky part here. But remember, you just have to, if you put something there, you have to take it away. Or you have to do the opposite of it in this case. Okay, so now, next step, I'm going to factor the perfect square trinomial. So we have y equals negative 5 times, now this is going to factor x plus 2 squared plus 20. So that's why we put the 4 there, you see, because when we do, we get a perfect square. We get x plus 2 squared. And notice that that's just what this looks like up here. Okay? And that's what we're shooting for. Okay, now we're almost there. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides so that we have y minus k. So I'm going to rewrite this. So this is y minus 20 equals negative 5 times x plus 2 squared. Okay, and this is a good place to be. Now we have it exactly in standard form here. Okay, and so we can see that the vertex is negative 2, 20. Okay, and the reason why it's negative 2 is you look at the plus 2 in here. Well, the formula, the general form has a minus h. So x is going to have to be negative 2 in order for it to become x plus 2. Okay, you're basically, in short, you're putting the opposite of what it is for the vertex. So if it says plus 2 here, then you know that the x-coordinate of the vertex is negative 2. Okay, same with the minus 20. Here it says y minus 20. Well, you can think of that as negative 20, so we're going to use the opposite of that, which is 20. So that's why the vertex is negative 2, 20. Also, a is less than 0, isn't it? Okay, a is negative 5. So we know, because a is negative 5, that we have a parabola that looks like this. Not a very good parabola. But the top point here is a maximum. Okay, and that corresponds to the vertex negative 220. Okay, so the maximum value is it's always the y coordinate. So the maximum value is 20. And there you go.